There's a team in the SEC this year that a lot of people think is just going to be flat out garbage that I believe, on the other hand, is going to be in for a huge bounce back season. And that's the South Carolina Gamecocks. They won 5 games last year, and it was a really disappointing season considering how much this program has overachieved the first 2 years under Shane Beamer. Year 3 definitely was a down year, 5-7. And going into this year, a lot of people don't see much changing, but I have to disagree with that. I believe that in terms of being able to have a 6-win season, South Carolina is definitely capable. They got a really talented roster. I was playing College Football 25 a few hours ago, and I was playing against somebody that had South Carolina online. He was eating my ass up with this wide receiver named Nick Harbor, excuse me. And Nick Harbor, this dude is a monster in College Football 25. He has 99 speed, 99 jump. And you look at this dude's measurables in real life, he's 6'5", 240 pounds. This dude was fast enough where you got people considering him a faster wide receiver than what Tyreek Hill is. Not only do you have a freak at wide receiver, but have you not seen Lenore Sellers, a dude that's around 240 pounds with a rifle for an arm and run somewhere between a 4.4 and a 4.5. That's in the Anthony Richardson tier of athleticism. And just overall, when you look at South Carolina's roster top to bottom, their only big concern that I have going into this year is this offensive line. Their offensive line has been bad for the last 4 or 5 years. We never know when this thing is ever going to get fixed, if it ever will be fixed. But if South Carolina can have a average or slightly above average offensive line, they're locked to win 6 games this year because they got 4 easy wins against Old Dominion, Akron, on the road against Vanderbilt, and Wofford. Now you just have to find a way to get 2 more wins, which is easier said than done, considering that the rest of their schedule is brutal, man. You got Kentucky on the road. That's a winnable game. LSU is winnable because we don't know how good that defense is going to be. You got Ole Miss at home. You got Alabama, Oklahoma on the road. Those are going to be 2 really brutal road games. Texas A&M, Missouri at home, and then you end the season playing Clemson on the road, but that's a rivalry game. That can go either way. To me, with South Carolina having a defense that's going to be really experienced on the front 7, they are as deep on the defensive line as what they've ever been the last couple of years under Shane Beamer. They should have a pretty good secondary. And offensively, not only do you have Lenore Sellers and Nick Harbor, but you also have Rocket Sanders, who you got in the transfer portal from Arkansas. So the talent is there for South Carolina, to me, to have a 7-win season. Where are the other 3 wins going to come from outside of the 4 easy ones that they're going to have? I could definitely see you being Kentucky on the road. You're pretty evenly matched. LSU, Ole Miss, you're playing both of those 2 teams at home. Even though they are way more talented than you, when you're playing a more superior team talent-wise than what you are at home, you do have the advantage because of the home atmosphere being on your side. And the majority of upsets take place when you have these superior road teams playing on the road. And one thing about Shane Beamer, and the reason why I'm confident that South Carolina can have a bounce-back season under him, is because he's a really good coach when it comes to getting the most out of his team when they are considered huge underdogs. I will never forget the way they ended off that 2022 year when they wrecked Tennessee's playoff hopes and Hendon Hooker's Heisman hopes as well. Then the following week after that, they dismantled Clemson in upset fashion. Never sleep on the Beamer boys. Okay, it doesn't matter if you don't think they're good enough to beat teams like LSU or Ole Miss. Shane Beamer has shown that if you count this team out, they're good enough to pull off an upset against you. You should never overlook the Beamer boys, especially when October rolls around. You don't want to play South Carolina in October because that's really when they're playing their best football. And if Lenore Sellers and Nick Harbor live up to their potential, this team could get the 7 wins, maybe 8. Now, the floor is incredibly low for South Carolina. They could only win the 4 easy wins that they have against ODU and Akron, Vandy, and Wofford. But with how good of a coach I believe Shane Beamer is, maybe I'm living too much in 2022. I can't see South Carolina having back-to-back down seasons. And there already is a little bit of noise around Shane Beamer's job security. Not a lot, but there is a little bit of rumblings that maybe he's on the hot seat. I don't think he's on the hot seat quite yet. I think that he needs at least another bad year, and then going into 2025, that's really when we start wondering what's going to be his future with South Carolina. But Shane Beamer, based off what he did his first 2 years, I think that should buy him at least 3 more years, even if they aren't that good, because they overachieved massively when he first arrived to South Carolina. People thought they was going to be as bad then as what they believe they're going to be now. So don't overlook South Carolina. This is a team that I think is going to be in for a huge bounce back year. They got an experienced defense, a good defensive coordinator. Offensively, if you can get the offensive line right, this can be a decent offense because Lenore Sellers is going to be a really good athlete. And if he ends up being a decent quarterback with some solid accuracy and decision making, his wide receiving core may not have tons of talent, but there's enough there that this can be a serviceable offense, especially with having Rocket Sanders in the backfield. That in itself is going to be really scary. Lenore Sellers and Rocket Sanders sharing a backfield with how explosive Sellers is, and we already know Raheem is one of the best running backs in college football. He has been for at least the last 2 years. This is an offense that definitely has a lot of upside. And this team overall has potential to be a middle-of-the-pack SEC team this year.